Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sports Live with Steve and Justin. Hello, Justin.
Good evening, Your Honor.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. Crazy. I had food poisoning. I know we spoke about it briefly. So the day before, or 2 days before, no, it must have been the day before Thanksgiving, I went at a fast food place and got a breakfast sandwich or whatever, and they made me wait for it, which is unusual.
Hmm.
And then I bit into it and it didn't really feel right, and I ate it anyway. A handful of hours later, sick as a
No
dog.
good.
And today's the first day that I'm not like nauseous all day long or weak. I was like lightheaded. It was messed up, boy.
That stinks. I'm sorry. I know you were down for a couple of days there.
Yeah, and I didn't. So I had ordered this huge cake, cost $90, I think, for at a special bakery in White Plains for Thanksgiving because I was going to somewhere. So not only didn't I get my turkey, there was nothing in my house to eat but that cake. And I have to say, food poisoning and a chocolate cream cake are not a good combo. I'll just give you that hint for anybody that gets food poisoning in the future. But anyway, enough of that. And here we are. Whoever thought? We're back, NFL, we're calling it week 13. I think it was week 13. It was a crazy week all around, but I'd be remiss if I didn't still shake in my head over F1 last week where McLaren makes a big screw up and both drivers who are Lando Norris, who's leading the points to win the world championship for the year, which is a big, big deal for you people that don't follow F1, and is ahead that nobody can beat him, gets disqualified, both drivers, so they both lose. Lando loses, he won, so he lose or came in second, whatever. He lost 20-something points, which is a big deal.
Unimaginable.
If he would have, I think he came in second. I think Max Verstappen won. If he would have kept his points, he would have been unbeatable. But he lost those points. This week, stupidity part 2 on McLaren's point, and nobody has any explanation for it. First lap, there's an accident. They bring out what's called the safety car, maybe call something else too, but safety car, and everybody has to stay in their spot. And they're in Qatar. So it's hot. So Pirelli makes the rules for the tires. On Friday, they're given tires on in the beginning of the practice round. Certain tires are given a soft, a hard, a medium, and that's all they get. They have to use those tires. Pirelli, who makes the tires, put a limit of only 25 laps on each set of tires, which made it that you had to pit twice in a 57 lap race. So,
Wow.
and I'm guessing it's because of the heat. I really didn't know, but I would imagine it is. It's Qatar. It's stupid. I saw them putting packages of dry ice in people's cars to help cool the drivers off. But anyway, I know I
Wow.
just shook my head. I was like, what are you thinking? So not only are you driving a car that the G-force is 6 times what it normally is while you're racing around a track, plus your attention, plus this, plus it's hot as hell. You're literally hot as hell. Not that
I
I've
guess
ever,
those cars aren't air conditioned.
I guess they're not. And so there's an accident in the first lap. And there's parts of the car all over. Guy hits a sign. I think the tires gave out or he lost it. And there's parts. So the safety car comes out. That means everybody needs to stay where they are. They keep driving, but they stay in their form. So they're not racing and nobody could pass and they go a certain speed. So figuring that it must have not have been the first lap, but it may have been the 7th lap or something like that. So knowing that they have to do 2 pits, they figure that if they do one now, that's the first one, and the second one they could do, and they would save you when they're racing again. Now those pits go really quick there. It's not like NASCAR where it's 20 seconds. The pits are the time driving in and out and maybe 3 seconds. Some are even a second and a half. They're so quick. I mean, these guys are ridiculous. So McLaren's leading the race. Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris. Max Verstappen, I think, is still in third at that point. The entire field pits, except McLaren. So they're forced to pit an extra time while the race is running. So it made it impossible for them to win a race because there's not that much difference in times of the drivers. It made them impossible. It was just a fool's errand. They just did not do it. They kept racing.
So McLaren decided not to pit.
Not to pit. And the entire rest of the track all went into the pits. Now you have one pit place, and you don't pit 2 cars at the same time. I mean, there are different teams. So, but even so, everybody else did it. McLaren couldn't do it. They won the constructors championship. It means the team won. There's an award for that. They won months ago. It's been done. They had so many points. So these guys get screwed 2 weeks in a row. Now, originally, it turned out on the last lap that, Lando was running like 4th or 5th. And one of the Mercedes drivers that's a friend of his let him by in the last thing. So he gained 4 extra points, which is a big deal. So now Max wins. Max Verstappen for Red Bull wins. He's only 12 points, should have been 8, because that guy should have not let somebody buy him. And there may be issues with that later on with the powers that be.
Wouldn't be the first time in racing that happened.
Yeah. And so he's 12 points behind going into the last week, next week, and winner gets 25.
That's big. And we talked about that last week, that it would take some sort of anomaly for the points lead to really change dramatically.
So once again, McLaren's strategy cost their drivers maybe a championship.
So did they think by not pitting at the 7th lap under caution that was going to give them an advantage on laps, that they could then wait till the 25 lap max, pit then, and then come back out firing?
I really believe that they just weren't paying attention enough. They weren't focused enough, and it didn't cross their mind, where everyone else crossed their mind. So they're leading.
Everyone else pits except them.
Yeah, but their time, they didn't know that because they were in the front. So when they passed the pit, and the timing was kind of tight, they certainly could have got one driver in the pit, no question.
So the safety car came off the track, and they went full speed ahead.
Right. So now so the safety car's still on a track when they're going around. So everyone was able to pit in the safety car and come out where they came out.
Okay.
So total screw up. Lando gets screwed. A driver lets him by. So now Max is pissed, and everybody hates each other. It's the end of the year. Everybody's whining. It's unbelievable what's going to happen in a reshuffle. Certainly, I can't believe that Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari are going to go another year. I can't believe that he is not totally sick of them. And here's the guy that's in the top 100, top 25 drivers of all time. Schumacher's number 1. Lewis is number 2. He's won 7 world championships for Mercedes before he came to Ferrari.
Yeah.
And since he came to Ferrari, Ferrari's been a total disaster, and they've basically treated him like dirt. And he's been vocal about it, and that doesn't make him happy.
Sounds like the New York Jets.
Sounds like the New York Jets. And for many, many years, Mercedes, Ferrari, and everybody else, all right? Mercedes and Ferrari, they probably spend $500 million a year on their team.
That is outrageous money. I mean, yearly, that's outrageous money.
And they probably have 1,000 people working for the team, all right?
Incredible.
Other teams like Williams, which is like a privately owned team, owned by the Williams family and others. Let's not forget these teams are now worth billions of dollars. Years ago, they're worth 100 million. Now they're worth $1 billion, if not 2 or 3.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And because how popular it's gotten. And what's interesting is, these other teams, maybe they have 200, 300 employees. Maybe their teams spend 200, 300 million. So it's, haves and has nots, just like in every other sport. But here, Ferrari has become a total disaster. And it's just like every other sport when you say it's not just about the money.
It
So,
sounds like there's a lot of things happening. Next year, the cars are changing. There seems to be an evolution of rule changes throughout the last 10 or 15 years. I mean, the drivers age out. I mean, I'm assuming there's that happens at some point. I don't know if that's happening here with Ferrari, but it's incredible how much the sport is going to grow next year. With, I think you said Audi's going to put a team in, Cadillac.
yeah, well, Audi's buying one of the teams. I forget
They're
which
buying
one.
one of the teams, right?
So it's going to become Audi. You know what? I'm always mystified by, so the Aston Martin team runs Mercedes engines. So it's not just because
It says Aston Martin, but it's not Aston Martin.
it's not their engine. So,
Yeah.
but they run the team. So there's some interesting aspects. I don't think Audi is using their engines. I forgot where they got them. Maybe Renault.
Well, doesn't Audi's owned by the parent company is Volkswagen, or
Right. Volkswagen. Porsche wanted a team, but
right?
Audi said no.
But they have Bugatti, don't they?
I don't know. But these F1 engines are all like unbelievable. And then GM is coming in, but I think they have their own engine. It's
Good
Cadillac,
luck
I
to
mean.
GM.
Cadillac, yeah. Well, they're trying to hit the ground running, believe it or not. And
I think
I don't think they realize what kind of ground. I mean, believe they had team years ago, but I'm not absolutely positive.
And
So
where are they getting their drivers from? Because it's not like it is in Europe, right? Like there aren't a lot of American
no,
drivers competing from a young age in this sport.
right. It may be an American team. I don't believe it's American drivers. I heard
Right.
the names. I forget what they are. But you have to realize that there's not only F1, there's F2 and F3. So there's this double layered minor league teams of drivers that are getting trained through whatever. And matter of fact, Red Bull announced tomorrow, but everyone knows the announcement already that they're shuffling they have 2 teams. They have the
Okay.
Racing Bulls and Red Bull Racing or something like that. And so they have like a A and a B team. So as the drivers succeed, they bump up to the A-B team, and another driver's going to be riding on the team with Max Verstappen. But they have these other teams, and people are coming up, and good drivers rise to the top. And that's just the way it works. And they're young guys. So,
It's pretty incredible.
I mean, you see them. I don't know if you ever watched the movie F1, you'll see them juggling. You always see drivers juggling, and it's eye-hand coordination. They're always working on it, like playing video games. Always working on their coordination.
That's incredible.
Always working on their physical, staying in shape. I mean, it's really hard. It's like being a jet pilot on the ground. I mean, you're racing at a couple 100 miles an hour. Everything happens real fast.
Sure.
The track yesterday, the turns are very, very fast. They're made to be fast. So it's really an interesting sport. I'm new to it, but once I started watching it, I became addicted to it. If you have the app, you get to see the practices, you see the qualifying, and you start getting into the strategy of it all, then the politics of the team and how much money is involved. And there's a great, if you're interested in watching F1 and learning about F1, all I can say is go to Netflix and watch the documentary on it. It's like 8 seasons, and it goes back when Hamilton was with Mercedes when he was a god, basically won every year. So it's a great thing to watch if you're into the racing.
I wonder how much of the money spent on this and putting the effort into winning these championships and building these cars goes into automobile sales. I wonder what the correlation.
So what they say is innovation. I don't know about sales, but the innovation that's made in F1 takes 10 years to get into a production car
But they're not air conditioned.
without air conditioning.
Air
Yes,
cooled, but not air conditioned.
correct.
That's funny. I mean, you always see the car commercials and there's always a race car involved. And then, the transition from that to the more refined interior of the car and luxury vehicle and so on and so forth. And the guy's driving. And I'm sure it plays a part.
Time to get to the NFL. Now, before we get into these teams and these games
Chaos.
yesterday, if you wanted to say, take $1,000 and you bet it on the team you're absolutely sure is going to make it to the Super Bowl, could you do it?
Right now? No, I don't think I could.
Could any team that's at the top of the crop, top of the crop, top of the crop, do you think any team at the top of the crop could not show up at any time, any day? You see the best teams. Dallas has got a little more head of steam lately, but we've seen them crash and burn. Philadelphia, forget.
Well, their schedule's pretty favorable the last 4 weeks, but
I know,
yes,
but
I
they
agree.
can't, but when they get there, they have no offense.
0.
And that's what I've been saying all year. I mean, with all this shit they have to work with? I mean, you know how many teams would say, I wish that was my team?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Bears and where they were the last few weeks, and that, I texted you after the game on Friday, Bears Rams NFC Championship game, question mark. And now the Bears they went from 3 or 4, they're the 1 seed in the NFC because the Rams lost. So it's
You want to know how
split
crazy
open.
it is? Pittsburgh's tied for first.
Pittsburgh
Okay?
is right there.
Pittsburgh,
And
I
they
mean,
got crushed.
crushed.
They
They
got
got
embarrassed. I mean, they,
embarrassed. The fans, you know how many times they played it on ESPN today? The fans chanting,
fire
fire
Tomlin.
Tomlin.
Yeah.
19 years he's been there. Let me tell you, if they fired Tomlin tomorrow, he'd be hired by the Giants on Saturday.
I agree. The teams will be lining up to sign him for sure.
Are you kidding me?
That includes some first place teams.
and yes, imagine him in Philadelphia.
That would be, I mean, wow. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I know, look, these coaches are as good as their coordinators will take them. They'll go as far as they can take them. Obviously, you need the relationship with the quarterback. You have to have all the things have to fall into place. But Mike Tomlin is not leaving any stone unturned. And I think you're realizing right now how there's a lack of depth and talent on the Steelers' offensive side. Particularly, they're lacking at a number 2 receiver, a real number 3 wide receiver in that offense where they want to throw the ball, obviously. They've got 2 decent running backs, maybe 3, but again, if you have 2 or 3, you don't have 1. Their offensive line has not been good, which is, uncharacteristic of a Steelers team. And defensively, they just couldn't stop anybody. So They've got a lot of work to do.
I mean,
But as far as Tomlin is concerned, like you said, you put him on a team with the Philadelphia talent, and I don't think they miss a beat. I really don't.
I don't know what to say. I mean,
And that's a whole
um,
culture slash personality change at the head coaching position. That's a guy who's going to hold every single person accountable every week.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I know he wanted Aaron Rodgers. And you know what? You're going to say that was a mistake, but I don't know what other choices he had. I know everything he had to work with wasn't going to work, and he knew that. Hasn't worked anywhere else. It's not like he gave up a quarterback that now is, you know, winning games.
I think the biggest free agent or difference maybe in offense was, Pickens leaving for Dallas. Um,
Maybe.
but Pickens is playing very well in that Dallas offense. He's been tremendous for Dak. If you look at the division, it's wide open. No one's running away with it. Everybody has something, right? The Ravens can still win, even though they played like dog do. Lamar is clearly hurt, clearly playing with some sort of injury that slowed him down. He's not explosive, not throwing the football well. It's just a combination of things. But their defense is also uncharacteristic of a Baltimore Ravens team.
Absolutely.
Yet their schedule says it's still right in front of them. Not to sound like our favorite New York head coach, but they all kind of control their own destiny, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, look at the Lions crumbled to the Packers, and now I had to listen to today. Did you see the way Love played? He fell into his own. They're going to be Packers are going to be the best team. Bull.
I don't believe that for 1 second.
Now, what did we did learn? One thing we learned this year is that Patrick Mahomes is actually human, and that all those games where he did things when the game was on the line to win the games, he hasn't been able to do.
Yeah, it's been something that you can see him struggling with it on the field every week. In the beginning of the season, when we talked about them, they were 0-2, and you could see he was trying to will his team to victory every week. And now it seems like they just kind of threw it into his lap, and they're not progressing and developing players on offense the way they have in years past, where they bring guys along every week and they seemingly get better. Now, they've got Brashard Smith, who is their third string running back on that depth chart, who's, in my opinion, is a pretty good football player offensively, and they haven't really gotten anything this year. I know Pacheco's been hurt. Kareem Hunt is not the player he was a few years ago, but he's their back. He's their offensive, go through right now. I know Rashid Rice came back, but the Chiefs have always been good at running the football, regardless of how the quarterback has played. And that is something goes unsung. They're not really getting the pass are using the pass to open the run, and they just can't run the football to open up the pass. So there's a big stalemate there. It's kind of like they're stuck in the mud, spinning their wheels a little bit on offense, and they're going to have to downshift and get into gear. And I think it starts with challenging your offensive line and running the football. And maybe you need to make the switch. Maybe you need to get that young, fresh legs in there from Brashard Smith, who can line up, at halfback. He can line up in the slot. He's a very talented player, multifaceted, whatever you want to call it. I'm not saying that he's going to be, you know, Jamal Charles, but they've got to kind of let the engine cool off a little bit because their defense isn't terrible, but I mean, the Cowboys' offense made them look terrible. But that was a close game. Well, close at the final score, but they you wouldn't expect even a few weeks ago to say, is Dallas going to dismantle the Chiefs, right? We talked about how no one wants to play the Chiefs. Well, the Cowboys have nothing to lose. They're still playing for a division, even though they're technically 2 games back, I think, right? Because of the tie. I don't think anybody expected that to happen. I think we all thought the Chiefs would probably come out, win this game, and then all of a sudden they'd be at the forefront of the AFC after a
Right.
win like that. And instead, they're, you know, they're circling. They're middle of the pack. They could still maybe win their division, probably not, right?
Right.
I think they were 6-6, and the Broncos are 9-3. I think, right? or the Broncos 10-3 now. I forgot. So are the Chiefs a playoff team? The same rule applies. I don't think anybody wants to play the Chiefs. And like you said before, is there any clear cut team right now at the top of any division that you think is going to win the Super Bowl? I don't see it. Could they? Sure. Are we going to get a Broncos Patriots AFC Championship game rematch, old school? We could. It certainly looks like it might be headed that way, especially the way they're playing. Both defenses are playing well. I would give the Broncos probably a slight advantage defensively, but Vrabel's got that defense playing very well in New England. They're, on a 10-game win streak. Um, I think everybody expects them to win tonight. Um, and they're going to roll. Their schedule is relatively friendly. Uh, Nobody scares them. So we'll see. I mean, it's for the Chiefs. They've got to they've got to regroup, and I just think they got to kind of get back to basics, find a way to get Kelsey the ball, and find a way to run the football. Because without that, if you're just going to leave it in your quarterback's hands, I mean, look at Lamar Jackson, right? He's 28 now, which the way he plays is old because he runs the football. It's such a big part of his game. But how old is Patrick Mahomes, right? He's been around a long time now. You can't expect him to win games with his legs solely. He has to be able to throw the football, and they're just relying too much on his ability to make great plays rather than have plays that are in hand that they can gain yardage on and move the football.
And Kelsey's not catching things like he used to. I mean, not only is he not getting the ball there, sometimes he's dropping passes.
Yeah, I think defenses have kind of caught up a little bit in that regard to the way the Chiefs throw the football,
Right.
especially, and he eats zone defenses alive. It's not like he's locked up by the other team's best corner every week. He's usually playing in an offense where they're going to see a lot of zone coverage because they have so many weapons and, they have speed and everything else. And it just makes him more dangerous when he can get in open space. I just think maybe defenses have caught up and that's why I said they have to kind of circle the wagons and downshift a little bit and redirect the offense and run the football.
Right. Well, I mean, it's definitely true, but Dallas seems to be on the come. So, I mean, they've really
Dallas is playing pretty inspired. I
pretty
mean,
inspired. The defense has changed. I mean, listen, the
yeah,
quarterback is playing lights out this year anyway.
he's been playing very well all season. I know fantasy stats don't matter, but I mean, he's not afraid to throw the football. He's got huge weapons offensively. Their offensive line is not the same offensive line that it was, let's say, even 5 years ago, but they're formidable. They can run the football. They don't have, the highlight reel running back, but that guy pounds it and he's, 3+ yards a carry and, you know, he can
Right.
get after it and they can maul people if they have to.
So, they're definitely, a team to watch. I mean, everybody's talking about the Bears.
The Bears are doing everything we talk about, right? When we talk about teams that win championships, their offensive line is protecting the quarterback and they're mauling people up front. They have the best running game in the NFL. And it's not like they have, you know, Marshall Faulk at running back or Walter Payton at running
That's
back.
right.
They have two, reliable running backs that, are probably more like lunch pail guys. They're not going to roll people over. They're not going to run away from anybody really. I mean, they have that ability, but they're playing within themselves and they're methodically moving the football on the ground, which is what you have to do, especially late in the season and the playoffs. You have to be able to run the football, and they're protecting the quarterback. So, you know, from a defensive perspective, they've gotten better. I know that this coach has made them, has turned them around completely. I mentioned before, last year it was the Redskins who in that game against the Bears kind of turned the corner for their season. And this year it kind of has the same effect. When the Bears beat the Redskins, they've been rolling ever since. It's hard to think that the Bears would be, the number one seed in the NFC, but kudos to the coach and his staff.
Yeah.
People are hard to judge, especially young quarterbacks, but Caleb Williams is, it seems like he's playing better every week.
He's coming into his
And
own a
one
little bit.
thing that I will say for him that I think helps a young quarterback is they do have two, maybe three very talented wide receivers. They're not divas, right? You're not going to see these guys tweeting and Instagramming and Snapchatting and TikToking. That's not who they are, right? Like I know everybody's got a little bit of that, especially this age group of players. That's what they grew up with, social media. But Roma Dunze, listed as their number two, who I think really is their number one, he plays like a 10-year veteran. This guy's out there blocking. If he doesn't get the ball, you don't hear him complain. When they throw him the ball, he catches it. Very, very unselfish player. And I think the way their receiving core is handled, being a receiving core, has helped their quarterback grow because they haven't put any pressure on this kid to be a 300-yard, 4 touchdown a game passer. And they've got two very serviceable tight ends in Komet. And of course, I'm biased because Colson Loveland went to Michigan, but they're coming along. Colson Loveland's coming along each week. You hear each week he's ready to have a breakout game. All he's got to do is catch the passes that are thrown to him. That's it. And he gets open and they do it. They move the ball methodically and I know it was the Giants but that comeback against the Giants, if you're going to be a championship team, if you're going to play for the playoffs or to win a division, you have to win games like that the way you won that game. You have to be ready to
Right.
come back and score and win. And they're doing.
So, that's the Bears and Eagles. I mean, Saints and the Dolphins, who cares? Not only are they not good teams, I don't think they have any idea how to make themselves better. Both of them. But then you get the Texans and the Colts. And I don't know where this defense came from with the Texans, but they are here. Number one
Well,
defense, probably if
they are the
not,
number one
number one
defense. Yeah.
defense in the NFL. They are tough. They seem to be everywhere all at once.
So
Go
yeah,
ahead.
their coach is a defensive coach, right?
Right.
And they've got talent. And, I think they kind of went unsung the last 2 years because there was so much promise and hype. CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, right? Offensively, they don't have a stout run game. Their offensive line is decent, but their running backs are not great. And I'm not trying to disparage them, but Mason is a Mason, and Nick Chubb is not the same guy he was,
Right.
4 years ago. But they're serviceable because their defense is so stout. It makes them formidable. They do have talent on offense. I think there's a little aggression from the quarterback, but he's not a bad player. All these teams kind of mirror each other with these young quarterbacks. There's a little element, I think, where we talk about parity in the NFL, but at the halfway point, week 8, I think it was, week 7 or 8, we talked. The Colts were 7-1, and we talked about how the second half of the season probably would look vastly different than the first half for some of these teams. They were for 7-1. Now they're 8-4, and they went from the number one, clearing away one seed, looked like they were going to run away with the division and the conference, and now they're in a dogfight.
And here's a perfect example. This is a team that we thought was going to do everything, and now we don't know who they are. We don't trust them. I still think,
And Daniel Jones is hurt, right? Fractured tibia.
something like that. And I still think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback.
So he's played well within himself. What made him excel this year was the play action pass. So he's seemingly better. I think it's like his success rate is like 80% in the play action, which obviously you need to, at some point you're going to have to run play action if your offense is built that way. And when you have a good run game, you have to take advantage of the play action. The Colts have a tremendous run game. They have a great running back. So, of course you're going to take advantage of the play action. What happens now is when teams catch up, how are you going to play when you can't run the play action or when you're not able to run the play action or your run game isn't going anywhere and nobody's fooled and they know you're coming? So I guess defenses have caught up in the last 3 or 4 weeks. We'll see. I mean, that's what coaching is all about, right? You see it on film, you go back, you look at it, you practice, and you come up with a new game plan. You change a couple of things, and you hope that you can put your quarterback in a position to succeed and work on his deficiencies because you can't just do what the Giants do and let the kid take off running and he gets his head knocked off and you have no quarterback. for Daniel Jones, who used to run a lot with the Giants under the same coaching staff, if you will. They've reeled him in. He can still run if he has to. It's not a major part of their game plan. It's a weapon that they can have. It's a wrinkle that they can roll out every week. You might see more of that in the coming weeks because they have to do something to offset the lack of success with the play action the last couple of weeks. They're going to have to reestablish the run to open up the pass. And I think they'll be okay. It's getting really, I mean, this is some good football coming up the next few weeks.
I agree. So moving right along, Falcons and Jets. Jets won. Who cares?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know they're not worth talking about, but I got to say, I know I know Jet fans are frustrated. I know that the Aaron Glenn takes more criticism than anybody because he's coaching in New York and it's low hanging fruit. The Jets are not good. Okay. They have one talented player on offense, excluding their offensive line, and that's it. And I love watching Aaron Glenn every week when he gives absolutely nothing and he smirks and he's defiant because it's better than watching a Belichick press conference where he gives you absolutely no personality whatsoever.
He was fired up. Did you see him talking? Did you see the film of him talking to his team? He's like breakdancing on the floor. He was so fired up.
So I, you know, we talk about Mike Tomlin and Sean Payton and other coaches that become available. I don't foresee anybody in that caliber becoming available for the Jets this year. I would say just give Aaron Glenn one more shot. And winning these games, now you have people talking about how the Jets are losing draft position. Well, you know what? Sometimes, and I know it's the Jets, so I say it and it's just, lost in the wind. But if winning these games prevents them from being forced to take a quarterback in this draft, it might actually be a blessing in disguise. And, there's other players out there that could benefit them in bigger ways in the future. Like, I won't name names now, it's too early, but when we get to, the combine and the draft and everything, you're going to see players from teams like Michigan, Ohio State, uh, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, whatever, Florida. You're going to see the cream rise to the top, and you'll probably see a different picture if you're a Jets fan, that it's not as bleak as you think it is. And I'm never this positive, right? I don't think they're going to win anything. What I realize about the Jets, even though they're coming off the Aaron Rodgers situation, is they're never going to develop a young quarterback into a superstar. It's not who they are. So unless you're getting the next Joe Namath, which is, 60 years ago already, the Jets are better off building and cultivating their offensive line and their run game and their defense, specifically their pass rush and their run stopping.
Right.
And then after that, maybe a Kirk Cousins is available. I don't know. Maybe there's somebody out there that's like a Daniel Jones that has not Tyrod Taylor because he's been around forever, but a guy that's still relatively young,
He
but
played well
seasoned enough
yesterday.
to come in and manage an offense.
He played well enough to win yesterday.
Absolutely, he did. He did. And I'm not saying he shouldn't have a shot at it, but they're still lacking talent. So they need to cultivate their talent and be more deep, whether it's drafting football players or bringing in free agents. They just have to get deeper and more talented via the draft and maybe trades, but just give Aaron Glenn a fair shot. I know there's mistakes, but sometimes it's just not what it looks like on television.
I mean, I think the building's coming down. I'm hearing things fall. I don't know what's going on, honey.
We'll stop talking about the Jets then, maybe.
I mean, all I'm going to say about the Jets is they've had, in all the years in this era of the new owner, whatever you want to say he is, they've never been able to draft one player and turn them into anything. They've maybe drafted players that are good and they're playing well other places.
Yeah.
But they've never been able to draft a player and turn them into something. So, I mean, I don't care if they have 50 draft picks. They could draft, the first 32. They would still screw it up. So, I mean, I don't think they have any ability to make anything happen. But move along. Why am I looking at week 5? I was looking at week 13. So
Last night's game was was wild.
I didn't watch it. Oh, no, I
The
did watch it
Broncos, the Broncos
last night.
Commanders.
Was great. I thought the Commanders really gave them a run for their money.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice to see. I thought they were going to pull it out, but you knew they weren't.
Well, I think it shows you the Commanders are probably a little more talented than the record indicates. Not so sure about their coaching, but I'm
Oh,
going to give them a
come on.
pass.
You don't think Dan is a good coach?
I no, I well, yes and no. I'm not going to kill him for anything. He is a good coach, but so is Sean Payton. And I want to give the Commanders credit because when the Broncos scored, I'm saying to myself, "Gee, I wonder if they'll go for 2 here." And then I'm like, "No, you can't. You have to kick the field goal because you'll never forgive yourself if you lose by an extra point." And then the Commanders come down, score, and go for 2, and I'm like, "That's the way to play." I loved it. I thought it was a great idea. It was the right call. Was the play call seemed a little.
Oh, listen, enough is enough.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? The guys are ready to drop. They got to play next week.
yeah,
You have a weakened defense. Their defense they were facing was ready to drop.
yeah.
And it really was. It just was maybe the wrong play. They let the guy through, and they couldn't get the pass. The guy was wide open. It was almost there.
Was it Mariota? I mean, he's backing up the whole gets a snap in shotgun and he's backing up. And I'm saying to myself, oh my God, what is he doing? And the edge, it seemed like it was a nickel back. I don't know if it was their edge rusher because the tackle was outside the offensive tackle, the down lineman.
He's a guy that was making things happen the
But whoever
entire
came off
game.
the edge, I forgot who it was
Number
in
8.
Mariota's face almost instantly. And he just kept backing up. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this play? Like it just got blown up from the beginning.
They
But
kept saying, "Oh, he could have lofted over his head." If yes, I agree, he could have lofted over his head, except for one thing.
he would have got pummeled.
When you watch the replay, the guy was on him. He couldn't loft it over the guy's head.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that maybe they called the right defense against that uh against that scheme they knew was coming and they went after him.
So
But I like to see that. I like to see a team go for 2 to win the game. I would have liked to see it at the end of regulation maybe, but it is what it is. I don't like overtime, but that was an exciting overtime for
so
sure.
anyway, let's go to the 49ers and Browns. You know, you
That
got
turned out to be, I mean, for the 49ers, it, 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 the Browns have a tough defense. They haven't
yeah.
given up a lot of points to some big offenses, right? So for them to give up 26 points to the 49ers, I mean, yeah, I know it was a big turnover, I think, right?
Yeah.
But
But I mean,
regardless, the 49ers are at the top of their division.
but that coach can't figure out what he wants to do with the quarterback. It's like he wants to do everything in his power not to give it to Sanders. Like he's like, well, we'll make him next week. Well, I don't know what else.
Yeah, I
It's the
mean,
end of
at
the
this
year.
point,
Who else do you got to
what do you
play?
have to lose? What do
You've
you have,
given
2
it
wins?
you've given it to Flacco. You've given
Yeah,
it to the other guy, whatever the hell his name is, and now you got to give Sanders a chance.
yeah.
I mean, what do you just not want to do it because you don't like him? Well, you drafted him. You're stuck with him. Let him go out there and see if he can make it. Maybe he can.
You have nothing to lose. I mean, you drafted him.
Nothing to lose.
You drafted him. Did you draft him for window dressing?
5th round.
And you look like a genius if he wins because you
Correct.
drafted him in the 5th round.
Right. You'll save a fortune for a couple of years and build the other team.
Absolutely.
But the Browns are another team that have never been able to re-sign a good draft pick. They've never been able to do any of that stuff, and who knows why, but we're not going to answer
where I
those
was going
questions
with
today.
the Jets winning that game is that
Right.
it sometimes will save you from yourself.
Right. So, and then we have Rams and Panthers. Now, we were sure that the Rams were the biggest team out there, and we're sure. And what happens? They lose to Carolina. But
that was the knockout pool game of the week right there. You're looking at the schedule going, the Rams should win this one easily, and Stafford should have 4 touchdowns. And I think he had 2 interceptions in the first 10 minutes.
right.
So give the Panthers credit. They played tough. The quarterback seems like he's turned a corner this season. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? The Rams have a good defense, and, the Panthers scored 31. Give them credit. They hung in there. They played tough. They played to win. They had no timeouts at the end of the game. They marched down the field, scored a touchdown, and, it is what it is. They're incredibly resilient for a 3-win team. And again, the Rams have an inexplicable loss, right? Like here we were, like, okay, the Philly game, it happens. And then here they are now. They were seemingly poised to take a huge lead in the division, and now they're tied with the 49ers, I think.
Right. And then you have Jaguars and Titans. Who the hell knows what the Jaguars are? We still don't know. Maybe they have something, maybe they don't. I don't know.
Defensively, they're playing well. I mean, it's not like, Trevor Lawrence is doing anything overtly spectacular every week, but they just find ways to win football games. So, that's something to build on for sure.
Well, that still needs to play out. It's just not
Yeah,
playing
and
out this week. And
yeah.
then all I could say about the Cardinals and Buccaneers is if that we think Buccaneers are a really good team, but somehow they could barely beat the Cardinals. So it makes me question their existence.
Well, I know Baker was playing hurt, right?
He's always playing hurt.
Yeah. I wonder if that hindered them a little bit. And you pegged the Cardinals from the beginning of the season. Why is this team, why can't they win? What's the problem? Every week it seems like it's a different facet
Right.
of the game that lets them down.
But
1 week the
historically,
quarterback plays well, the defense stinks. The defense plays well, the running game is off. The receivers drop a football.
but I think historically in football, there's always a quarterback that makes you scratch your head. That's got all the talent. He's fast. He's great. He can play action. He's got a great arm and never wins. And everybody wants him because he's got tons of talent. But as Parcells would say, and he's not a winner.
It's not a winner.
He's not a winner. And unless some coach goes out there and teaches him, Mark just came on, and teaches him how to win and gets it in his gut, like a Tomlin, these guys want to win. But for some reason, I don't know, they should just shut down that franchise. I never see every year it's the same crap.
They seem to be cursed to a degree.
Well, what aggravates me more about them than the Jets or the Giants is they have the talent and they can't do it.
Yeah. They can't put it together. I mean, they did. Yeah, boy, I tell you, they were a good team when Kurt Warner was there, and even though they lost to the Steelers, that was one hell of a Super Bowl. Kurt Warner left the field with the lead. He did everything he could possibly do. I mean, I know he threw the pick on the goal line that went 100 yards for a touchdown the other way, but I thought they outplayed the Steelers virtually the whole game. And then the tiptoe through the tulips touchdown by Santonio Holmes to end that game. I mean,
come on, Kurt Warner. What do you want to say about him? He's a winner.
Winner.
He's a leader. He has talent. He takes control of the game. I don't care where he played. In L.A., if they were in L.A. at the time, I don't know where they were. I mean, the Rams, wherever they were, wherever he played, he was a winner. In Canada, he was a winner, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he win the Grey Cup there?
No, he won in Frankfurt.
Oh,
he
whatever.
played in the European football.
Oh, is that where it was? I thought it was Canada.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and he's a good announcer. So,
seemingly great guy too.
Yep, seems to be a really great guy. So, Vikings and Seahawks. Vikings have folded up and took their
Completely
tents and gone home. Yep. They got on their ship and they went back to the Netherlands. So forget about the Vikings. They're never going to get it together this year. Seahawks, who the hell knows who they are? They show up, they win. Everybody says, Darnold's not going to do what he did last year, fold up in the playoffs if they make it to the playoffs. I don't know. Depends who they play.
I think they will. I think they'll make it. I think, one of the things that plays in their favor is that the Rams have had probably the toughest schedule in football in terms of travel, right? The Rams have had to come to the East Coast, I think, 3 times now, and they went to Europe to play.
Yeah.
And they weathered that storm, but I think maybe the schedule kind of caught up with them, and they're feeling it now. Whereas, the Seahawks, I mean, I know they have to travel too. They're both playing on the West Coast. Typically, the Seahawks travel probably more than anybody, but, you know, the Seahawks are very formidable. And there's no reason why they can't, put it together and win a couple games in the playoffs. Does that mean I think they're going to go to and or win a Super Bowl? They could. I mean, they have a lot of talent at wide receiver. They have some big playmakers, and they're playing pretty stout defense. I mean, I know the Vikings are, you know, essentially terrible right now with whatever's happening there. But the Vikings did have talent a year ago, except they made the change to quarterback. They've got a young, inexperienced quarterback taking lumps every week, seemingly, who's shown signs of having talent. I think they just have to bring him along, you know, in a better way. But to expect them to be formidable this year after what they did last year, I think that was probably unrealistic, especially with a young quarterback.
So,
But there's some turmoil there,
yeah. So can I ask you about something?
of course.
Pete Carroll, you think he's done?
Somebody used the term football has passed him by, or has football passed him by? I think it was on Sean Salisbury's podcast. And I, you know, I don't think so. I don't think the Raiders are extremely deep or extremely talented. I think they just are what they are right now. And I mean, Pete's still, he had tremendous success in Seattle. He had really good success in college. He's a football guy. It's in his blood. He's obviously got the energy of a 20-something-year-old for a guy who's like near 70 now, right? Or is he in his 70s? I don't know. I think he can still coach. I think he can still get the best out of players. I just don't think they have players. I really think that's what it is.
But
I
have
know
they?
they have a great tight
He's
end.
74.
He's 74. Wow, I thought maybe 72. So, yeah, I mean, I don't ever want to throw somebody's age in your face, especially him, because he's a high energy guy. If he's lost a step in that regard, and maybe that's changed the way he's coaching, I just don't see that. He is who he is. He's an incredibly smart football guy. The players love him. He seems to get the best out of players through his career. I think he's gotten the most out of people that he could get out of them. I know that things ended kind of sour with him and Russell Wilson because Russ wanted to be Russ, and it was, that it could have been something different or it could have been better, but I just don't think the Raiders have the roster to compete right now. That's really what it is. I don't think it's Pete. And they might have a situation with their coordinators and who's coming, who's going. Is it Pete's roster of guys? That was, a question for him. So I wouldn't get rid of him. And I could tell you that, there's a few teams that will line up to get him if he became available tomorrow. So I don't think he's done, I can't see that the league has passed him by. I just don't see that. But I'm not in the locker room, so I can't make that determination. I think he's still got it. I just don't think the Raiders are a very talented football team. Gino's
Yeah,
got,
I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I just think, listen, it's a tough place to play, meeting the Raiders. Davis is a strange dude.
that's another thing too. Moving from the transition of the team to Vegas, there's a lot of factors there. You know, what if we find out in 10 years that the players are all degenerate gamblers or they can't stay off the strip when they're have home games or, you know, there's something else going on. I just don't think it's solely Pete Carroll if in fact he's not the same guy. I mean, that's why they brought him in, right? Because they need somebody to stabilize the organization in a new city, especially a place like Vegas. So, there's a lot. I can't imagine what that must be like. It's got to be an incredible challenge to coach there and live there and play
S-
there.
Yeah. So I don't have the patience to talk about the Giants tonight. I know they're playing tonight. I mean, let's just see what happens. Jackson Dart's coming back. Let's hope that they don't do anything stupid with him or he does anything stupid to himself because he is the future of that franchise and gets to build up and is the only player I think they want to hold on to. But if he goes out and keeps running his head into the wall, he's not going to survive. We
Yeah, I
all
don't
know that.
think Kafka is going to do anything stupid with them or him. I can't say Jackson Dart won't be in a position where he may, do something to jeopardize his body. I wouldn't call him stupid. I would just say that he's, you know, incredibly talented and wants to win, which you
Yeah.
want from your quarterback. And he plays tough, but he's not playing smart. So that's probably the best way to say it. You just want to see that they didn't rush him back too soon and put him in a position to hurt himself. Because I don't think I would have played him at all. There's really no reason. There's no reason to play him right now. He doesn't have all his complements on the field with him, and if you can't protect him, not only when he's upright but from himself when he's on the run, you're jeopardizing the future. On the flip side to that, Kafka's coaching for a job. Maybe he is the next big, guru offensive guy, and maybe he gets his team straightened out. He's, fired the defensive coordinator.
You're
He's
dreaming.
acting. What's that?
You're dreaming.
Yeah. Well, just from the Kafka perspective, he's auditioning, right? Like he can't just mail it in. He still has to coach. So I don't think he'll do anything to jeopardize Jackson Dart's future or the organization's future. I don't think the organization is bringing him back one way or the other, but he's definitely auditioning for something for his future because he's still a young guy and he's going to coach in this league for sure.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the games from next week, and there's three games that have my interest. The first one are the Bears and Packers. If one of these teams want to prove themselves, that's the day.
This is a huge game for the Packers. Not just, I mean, it's a huge game in
Absolutely.
general, but the Packers, traditionally speaking, have owned the Bears, and they haven't played well enough to say, "Oh no, they're going to come in here and wipe the floor with the." And did they play each other? They play each other twice in the
I,
next 3 weeks.
I don't know
2 weeks. I think they play this week. Then I think they have. They don't play back to back games. They play this week and then again. I think in 2 weeks. Have to look
they
that up.
do. Week
Yeah.
16.
So this is an incredibly huge game for both teams, and if you're the Bears, you're kind of playing with house money right now. But you do have to prove that you can beat this team because you haven't done it in the past. So this is one more hurdle for a young Bears team to have to get over. You've got, the head coach knows him well. He came from inside the division, and seemingly the Packers are kind of ripe for the. I'm assuming are they favored, even though the Bears are leading the NFC?
I don't know. I only have the schedule. I don't have the
Is that game in Green Bay or at Soldier Field?
Green Bay.
Yeah, I would say the pressure's on the Packers to have to win this game.
So the other game is the Texans and the Chiefs. Chiefs coming after a bad loss. Texans coming after a big win. If they want to show themselves, they should pummel the Chiefs like Philadelphia did in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know that they have the capacity for that. Where's that game being played?
Chiefs.
That's a tall order for the Texans to
Yeah,
go
but
on the road, to go into
that
Arrowhead.
defense.
I don't know. That defense is number one, but the Chiefs are still the Chiefs, even though
Mhm.
they're 6-6. This is what do they call it? Time to put your big boy pants on if you're the Texans.
And I'll tell you the other game. I agree with you. The other game is I lost it.
49ers?
No, I think the other game is the Eagles and the Chargers. I think the
Oh,
Chargers, who could be tough at any given moment, has an opportunity to show how tough they are and beat the Eagles into next week. And if the
yeah,
Eagles will lose another game, somebody's getting fired. I don't care if they're making the playoffs or not.
yeah. So the Chargers have been pretty resilient this year considering their injuries, and Harbaugh's done a good job of keeping them, you know, without them turning into a frayed ball of yarn. He's done a good job of keeping that team together. Quarterback's playing incredibly well. After this week, watching the Eagles defense get, basically dismantled by the Bears, the Chargers have to find a way to run the clock out, pound them into submission if they can, and protect their quarterback because the Eagles are going to come after him. The Chargers lost both tackles this season at one point, and to their credit, they kind of just didn't miss a beat, which credit their coaching staff and their play caller. And uh, the Eagles, I mean, this is kind of like, are they on the tailspin? Are they on the downward spiral? This is a team that started 5-0, and now they're in jeopardy of losing this division to the Cowboys, who couldn't get out of their own way. Just like we talked about week 8, the second half is looking entirely different than the first half. So uh, the Eagles can't take the Chargers for granted. I know that, some people see that on paper and think, oh, the Eagles will win that game going away. Not so fast, my friend. And then, of course, you got Harbaugh and Sirianni. I don't think they have any sort of connection or relationship. Sirianni, at this point, looks like he's coaching for his job.
Yeah.
If he does anything stupid, I mean, this weekend he was yelling at fans on the sidelines, and even his coaching staff
Ridiculous.
was looking at him like, what is wrong with this guy? Like they know they're on camera and they can't really play their cards or show their cards. And you could just tell, like, there's turmoil in Philly where it seems like there's nobody knows which end is up. And, I know they won the Super Bowl. This does not look like a team that won the Super Bowl last year.
Right.
It does not. It just doesn't look like a very well coached, well organized, prepared football team. And seemingly every week they make some sort of bonehead move or the coach makes a bonehead call. And a guy like Harbaugh is going to take advantage of that. The one thing about Harbaugh, they're going to come prepared. They're going to have video on you, and they're going to, their
Agreed.
players are going to be in the film room. No one's going to be late to practice. They're going to be ready to play. And the Eagles, they can't take for granted that the front four, front seven, even with Brandon Graham back, are going to dismantle that Chargers offensive line, that's probably going to be their game plan defensively.
And the other game that I kind of blew by, Thursday night game, is the Cowboys and Lions. If the Lions want to get back into this thing, they have to knock the Cowboys into next week.
Talk about a tailspin. I mean, that Lions offense it's like they have so much talent. And I know Goff takes a lot of, criticism every week, and maybe it's due, but they're healthy this year, the Lions. Last year they had so many injuries and they were still alive, and you think, all right, they're probably a 10, 11, maybe a 12 win team this year. They're going to come back and they're going to be the team to beat. And now, they're in a dogfight. And this is a big, big moment for them because if the Cowboys win this, they put themselves closer to not only the top of the division, but a higher playoff seed. And you might be knocking out one of your potential playoff opponents. So the Lions got to right the ship this week, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for either team because they're playing on Thursday night. But, Dallas has been playing inspired the last few weeks. I know, it seems like the death of Nealand has kind of galvanized their locker room a little bit and made guys realize that they can't take things for granted. And I know that sometimes the press likes to over dramatize something like that because it's a very personal, awful thing to have happened in general. But the team seems to have rallied around this as a focal point for them to galvanize themselves and say, look, they have something to play for now. And they're playing for each other because of what happened. And if it sucks that it took that, if that's what it took to get them to play better or to start winning games. You never want to see a tragedy like that unfold anywhere. But they seem to get some worth out of this, and it seems to have made them more formidable each week because they have something to play for and they're not taking things for granted. And it's not, that same old Jerry world attitude, which I'm sure is he's just waiting for the right time for Jerry to be Jerry. But right now, the Cowboys are playing very well. You got to give them credit. And the Lions are vulnerable. So, the Cowboys defense has been suspect pretty much all year, especially in the passing game. So obviously, with the talent they have on offense, you're going to look for the Lions to take advantage of that. And if Jared Goff can, find a way to straighten himself out and get the football into the hands of those wide receivers that he's got, I mean, they're tremendously talented. I know the coach is taking over the play calling. I think it was 2 weeks ago, but it kind of sputtered a little bit. Their running back is tremendous. So they just got to put it together. They just got to go out and be who they are. If they can go out and just be who they are, protect the football, and stop the run and get after the quarterback, they'll be okay. But they've got to right the ship this week. They can't, if they lose this game, I think their season's over.
Yeah, I think you're right. There were a couple other things I wanted to get to. Obviously, we haven't heard much about gambling. Nobody
It's
talks of.
weird. It's a little weird that how that story has kind of deflated a little bit because I really thought it was going to pick up and we'd start hearing more. Like when you heard about the two baseball players and the prop bets, I thought that was just one more leaf that was going to get turned over before a bigger storm. And it still may be coming, but there are clearly other issues, if you will, that I guess it would be the FBI has their hands full with.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you'll find out that all those things are plead out because they don't want it to be in the press. So there won't be any trials. You won't hear the dirty uh, deeds of the whole thing.
The nitty gritty, the
Yeah,
details of the
you
story.
won't, it's just when you want to cover something up, you just plea bargain your way out, right?
Yeah, the biggest thing is the press. Is the press gonna follow the story or not? Because the press has a way of doing that, right? They get a
Well, ESP,
magnifying glass on an anthill, and then when there's a mountain of evidence, they kind of just look the other way.
ESPN is partners with the NFL, it's partners with the Major League Baseball, it's partners with the
Partners with the
NBA,
gambling
it's
companies.
partners, they have their own gambling company. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I
Well,
mean, they are ESPN
where there's
is.
smoke, there's fire, and all the evidence is there as far as I'm concerned. But the story is just dead in the water right now.
I mean, pretty soon they're going to be, like I said, gambling on WWE.
It's funny, somebody else said that this week. Who was talking about it? I heard that somewhere else that we might as well gamble on WWE wrestling, which is just unfathomable. But that's where we are now.
That is where we are. So I don't know. I think that we covered a lot this week. Is there anything else we need to get into? I know
I
there's
don't know
some.
if you want to talk about the Mets situation and the fallout. I really don't think there's anything there. I think it's more media driven than anything else. But they made that trade last week. We touched on it briefly, and then this week you hear something about Lindor and Soto not getting along. But if you read Lindor's comments, he basically just said, "Look, Soto is who he is. He's a family guy. It's just him and his people, and he's not a rah rah locker room guy." And somebody made a comment about Lindor being flashy or he likes to dress. It's just his personality. He likes to look good. That's not who Soto is. So I think they're trying to create something where there's nothing. Um, and then I heard Marte is the leader in the locker room, and I don't know. I think it's just fodder. I think it's just there's nothing there. But you know, for two big personalities, or at least for two big prominent players on one team to not get along, that's a problem. But earlier in the week, it was looking like the 70s Yankees. It's kind of headed towards Bronx Zoo territory, but I think it's more media driven than anything else. That's my gut feeling.
So I don't know if you heard over the weekend that, or maybe it was on Friday, it was an article about Mets owner Steve Cohen had signed a deal with, I think it was Hard Rock or somebody, and working on for a casino in in Queens
In
there on
Queens.
on the property,
Yeah.
which has gotten real resistance from United States tennis there. But the state was handing out 3 licenses today to New York City, and the 3 licenses were handed out. I think they okayed $115 million or something to be allocated. And it's funny, they're going to build 3 casinos, all 3 of them, 2 of them are in Queens and 1 is in the Bronx, and they're right next to each other. So this is
Is
great.
this
So the New York Mets owner, Steve Cohen, and Hard Rock's Metropolitan Park planned gaming complex got 1 license near Citi Field in Flushing.
wow?
The Genting Group Resorts, who wants to expand slots parlors to offer table games next in Ozone Park next to Aqueduct. So think about how far they are away from each other. And
Yeah,
the third is Bally's, who now runs the golf course at Ferry Point near Whitestone Bridge.
that just makes so much sense.
And think about it. You could drive. So Ferry Point by the Whitestone Bridge and Hard Rock Metropolitan Park are stone's throws from each other.
It's incredible.
And then Aqueduct, those are the 3 they gave? I'm amazed.
I
But
can't believe it.
anyway, the 3 casinos need final approval from the State Gambling Commission, who my former boss is the commissioner, by the way. Each license has to pay
Oh,
$5 billion to the Metropolitan Transportation Authority.
say that again. I lost your audio. They have to pay how much? $5 billion?
Each licensee has to pay $500 million fee up front, totaling $1.5 billion to go to the Metropolitan Transit Authority. The transit agency has already budgeted massive income as part of its budget, anticipating the 3 licenses from a pool of which included 11 bidders.
Wow.
So
I can't believe that this is.
So
How much more can you cram in here?
So the 2 that lost was Times Square and Hudson Yards.
Could you imagine gambling in Times Square? That just seems so. My God, Jesus!
I could see
I,
it.
I
I could see it at Hudson Yards.
I just think that property is too valuable to let someone have. Wow, I'm glad it's not. I can tell you that. I'm glad it's not. But how much of this is off the heels of the deal in Yonkers falling through?
It didn't really fall through. They withdrew. Resorts withdrew,
What did
and
withdraw?
they withdrew their application.
The Rooneys sold that property. Is that correct?
Rooney
Didn't the
sold
Rooneys
that
own that
property
property?
to MGM
MGM.
Resorts, who owns Aqueduct too.
Okay.
So they may have lost in Yonkers. They're going to gain in Aqueduct.
Okay. I wonder if that puts Yonkers in jeopardy now.
So that means that they didn't. I thought there was maybe going to be a license at the racetrack at Belmont. So that means that's not going to have one because they're very close too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever been to the Aqueduct casino. It's a lot like Yonkers. I have to say, I don't get the casino things at all. I guess they're meant to entice people other than New Yorkers. Not that I wouldn't go. I know that the Tennis Association hasn't given up. The U.S. Tennis Association hasn't given up with that fight because they're worried about parking for their events, of course. So Mark, talk to us about it, and we'll go over it next time. All right, we'll definitely start
sure.
the next time. So I think we covered about all we're going to cover for one night. What do you think?
Hour and a half. It went by quick.
It went by quick. It's that F1 racing. It's so mesmerizing, and but I can't believe we led with F1 racing. I hope more.
Why not? It's very
Yeah.
exciting. I mean, you getting me into it. I mean, I'm following the points that we talked about last week, and I said, well, there's really no chance for for these other guys, it seems, unless there's a big shakeup, and there was.
Absolutely. So
So that makes it more exciting.
there it is. Another one in the books. I thank you very much. Please, everybody, like and subscribe. You will see, if you didn't really watch it live, the best is to look at the edited version, which you really don't take in any stuff, just the ums and ahs, and kind of polish it up a little. It flows a little, and that's the one that really gets pushed forward, that everybody sees, hopefully. So thank you all. Like and subscribe. Please tell your friends. Everybody I tell that I do this ends up watching it and watch it all the time. I get questions all the time about what we do. They tell me how much Justin talks too much. Not really, but on and on and on. Thank you, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you, Steve.
See you, brother. Bye.
See ya.